Right, we should be live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Saints View, the channel for Southampton content. We're here to preview this weekend's clash at home to Aston Villa in the Premier League. Can Southampton make it 4 consecutive wins across all competitions? Tonight, joining me is Liam and a new face to the channel, Rob. Both of you guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm decent. Three
Good
wins in a
back.
row. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, happy days, man. I think moving forward, hopefully it should be a little bit more of a positive stream. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, we'll be joined later on by Aston Villa YouTuber Villa on Tour. But before he comes into the fray, we're going to talk about the last game. Everton 2-1 win, first win at Goodison Park for I think 25 years in the Premier League. It was a long time coming, but Nathan Jones has finally become the manager to crack the code and get a victory away at Goodison. And it also came from behind, the first time we've won away in the league, coming from behind at half time. And I think over 9 years. Stats all around, 3 wins in a row. I mean, Liam, given the fact that prior to this run of form, it was all doom and gloom. Everyone was backing us to be relegated by about February time. Nathan Jones was, everyone was calling for his head, really. What's happened? What's changed?
I don't know, mate. I think it was just the perfect week for us. Like the Palace game, like first half an hour, that was terrible. And being 1-0 down against them and then bringing it back to win 2-1's fantastic. So, and getting the result against City as well. I think that's just like, I think a lot of people just thought, oh, that's just a one-off. But it doesn't mean anything if we win there and don't win at Everton. So it's like, get the win at Everton. It's just the perfect result with being 1-0 down at half time and really getting the Everton crowd on the players. And I think the players really dealt with the whole like occasion well, especially like when the players come in, all the Everton fans are doing what they were doing last season when they were getting like all the flares and like the atmosphere. And I thought we just dealt with it really well. So really happy. And I think it's just positive. Keep it going. Then we've got to get a result on Saturday against Villa.
Rob, I've spoken to a lot of Saints fans about their kind of attitude towards that game or throughout their game, how their emotions kind of played up as the game went on. And surprisingly, which I guess kind of conforms to the situation Everton are in, but also the situation we're in now, having had that big win against Man City. A lot of them have said at half time, being 1-0 down, they didn't feel nervous. They didn't feel as though there was something to be concerned about. They didn't fear for Saints. They thought, we get that next goal, we'll go on and win the match. How did you feel at halftime, being 1-0 down, of course?
Well, obviously, it's never a nice feeling when you go into a 6-pointer and you're 1-0 down at halftime, right? I think for me, because the emotions for me that game ran really high. I was a little bit deflated at halves. I can't lie. I was probably the only one out. So I was there with a few friends. They were all having pints in the concourse. I was the only one to actually stay out because I was just like, I need to sort myself out, I thought. But yeah, I think in the first half, Everton did not. I don't think that they showed all that much threat. To be honest with you, I thought we dealt with the situation we were given by Everton well. I'd say in the first half, and I thought we gave a little bit of it back. I mean, we were unlucky not to score right before the end of the half. Obviously, with Ward-Prowse having a shot tipped onto the post by Pickford. I think we were quite fluid. It was worrying me slightly when they went 1-0 up. I was scared they were potentially going to get a scrappy goal and go in 2-0 because the crowd were kind of more behind them. You could feel there was more of an energy around Goodison. There wasn't necessarily a negative one as such, but I was very happy to go in at that point 1-0. I think, as you said, many Saints fans were thinking, well, we can actually get something back from this game. But I always thought that it was going to be really important in terms of how we actually started that second half. And I don't think we could have started it any better, obviously. I thought we kept the ball well, evaded the press and got the ball directly up to Che Adams, who beat his man for probably one of the only first times of that match. To knock it down for Prowse, who arrived late. So at half time, I was feeling a little bit down because obviously Saints' record away from home when losing, that was the first time in 21 years since we've actually got a win from that position, which is massive. First time in my lifetime, as I'm sure Dan and Liam's as such. But yeah, it was mixed feelings, I think. But it was all about how the squad could invigorate the away fans into hushing Goodison a little bit better than we did in the first.
I just have to bring this in from Jem. I mean,
oh, that's class.
Jem,
can we get
it's great chat from Jem.
Can we get an answer on that, please, Jem? Thank you.
Yeah, by the end of the stream, I want to see a comment in the box down below. But no, that's completely throwing me off. But all seriousness, though, I think for me anyway, obviously the Manchester City result massively helped that. But going into the game, I can't remember going into a trip to Everton as confident as I was for a long time. I think there have been a few times we've gone up there in pretty decent form. I think in Project Restart, and we got a 1-1 draw off the top of my head. Maybe on the opening day last season, because it's the opening weekend and anything can happen. But for me, it just felt, with everything going on behind the scenes with the board and the fan protests, with the poor form, that was their fourth consecutive home defeat. They'd had 3 consecutive home defeats prior to us coming up to Goodison. There are so many factors that just built up, and it just felt, this is going to be a Saints win. It has to be, or at least it's our best opportunity for a long time to end that ducket at Goodison. But Liam, do you think had we not beaten Manchester City, we would have got that result? Do you think the players would have rallied? Because obviously we had gone to Crystal Palace and come from behind to win. Okay, it wasn't the most classic performance. It was kind of 2 errors from them, really, that gave us the goals. But do you think, had we necessarily not progressed through in the Carabao Cup, but maybe shown a little bit of fight, shown a little bit of performance against Manchester City, that we would have gone on to get that result against Everton? Or do you think that victory against Manchester City was the catalyst to going then and getting that Premier League victory?
To be fair, I don't think that City game would have really mattered about how I felt going into the Everton game. I just think the winning against City was just a massive confidence booster for, especially a lot of the fringe players, like especially Diallo, who was probably one of my top 3 of the game. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and I think he proved it again on Saturday against Everton. I thought he was so good, and I think his decision making for the yellow card was perfect as well, even though you'd be angry about giving away a yellow card. But him getting that was probably perfect for us. They had a good counter attack. But I think, like I said, this season, I think the only time that we've not come back from behind to get our points was Bournemouth away, which we won 1-0, and West Ham at home, which we drew 1-1. Every other point we've got was coming from behind. Like 2-1 against Chelsea, 1-0 down, 2-1 against Leicester, 1-0 down, 2-1 against Everton, 1-0 down. So it's like we can show we've proved that we can come from behind. It's whether we can keep on to those leads when we do get them, and we showed that against City. So I think the last 3 games we showed what we can do. We've come back from behind. We can keep results when winning as well. So yeah, I think we've got to keep going. But I think the Villa game is going to be a lot different because we go 1-0 down against Villa. Like Emery's he's such a classic tactical manager. When he goes 1-0 up, he's pretty much going to get the result, as we've seen the last couple of results for them. So it's going to be an intriguing game on Saturday, definitely.
And our Villa fan is waiting in the wings. And before I bring him in, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, the lack of striker. It is 19th of January. There are 11, 12 days left of the transfer window. Still no striker under Sport Republic, or at least a prolific forward. Rob, I know you've got a massive opinion on this, as we've seen from your tweets over the last couple of days. How worried are you?
Mate, honestly, I'm more speechless than anything. It's more shock. I mean, last summer, the amount of times we heard from very good sources close to the club, the Athletic, the Telegraph, in terms of the caliber of player that we were after, ended up actually bottling. Dragan gave us some really good money. I mean, we had at least minimum 30 million to splash on a striker in the summer. And then obviously, we don't get one in the summer. So you're thinking, right, okay, well, we've got 4 months with Che Adams. He's just hit a bit of form. Okay, is this going to be that bad? Mara, maybe he can step up. And it started off all right. And then, it got quite bad. Che went through some bad runs of form, should I say. Amara simply just wasn't ready for the Premier League at that point, which is completely fair enough because he was never supposed to be ready for the Premier League, that we were meant to get another striker alongside him. And then we have the November break. That's, I understand Sport Republic's time is probably taken up by replacing Ralph. That's completely fine. But we have 4 months since summer until January to find a replacement striker, or a new striker, should I say. We're now very deep into the January window. And some of the links that have been talked about today, in my opinion, it is disgraceful from the owners. I think everyone knows that to stay in the Premier League, you need a top caliber striker. That's just like this league is so competitive. You can't get away with playing Che Adams, who shouldn't be a finisher at a club. Fighting for relegation. It should be an absolute bottom line to get a prime striker in that can actually play alongside him, like we had with Ings. Because we know Che's a great second striker. We saw it at the weekend. That knockdown for Ward-Prowse was fantastic. He does that week in, week out, but he can't finish big chances consistently, and that's what we're missing. And I know Sport Republic know that. They obviously do know that. But the amount of strikers that we've let slip through our fingers has just been so frustrating. And some of the links are there. I mean, I'm sure some of these guys are good. As people are saying, the Nigerian striker from Genk, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, so we'll probably get flagged. But he's obviously got a great goal scoring record, but that's not someone you bring in to keep you up, because at the end of the day, the Belgian league is the 7th, 8th best league in Europe. It's going to take him so much time. To get used to, the Premier League. We have so much money available right now, like it's sitting in the wings, that we can put towards a striker that can hit the ground running, like a Luiz Openda or Beto or even Moffy. I know Moffy's probably not that keen on coming to England, but at the end of the day, we need him to do a job, right? So if it means giving him a couple extra K in wages per week, who cares? As long as it keeps us up. It is frustrating me, and I think it's frustrating the fan base. I think Rasmus Ankerson, in every other position, he's excelled in the signings that he's brought in. Absolutely excelled. But the main one, which we need a striker, he's completely failed us on. And I mean, he openly said it on BBC that he's the one taking the lead on this. So it's,
I think it's getting desperate,
isn't it? Oh yeah,
it's getting desperate.
Completely getting desperate. That's what it feels like.
I totally agree with you, Rob. Like, the signings that we've made, I think are fantastic individually, and I think we're finally seeing now that they can play as a team. I think like the Mara goal against Man City, it's perfect. It was a perfect striker's finish, and I think the low confidence he's on, he's hit that so well, and it's a beautiful finish. But we need a striker to do that more consistently, like we had with Ings. Like you said, Che was a perfect second striker. That partnership was perfect because Ings he did the finishing and Che did everything else. It was perfect. But now we're relying on Che to do both. We've seen since he signed for us from Birmingham, he can't do the one thing that we needed, is finish. And we've lost too many games this season because we can't score goals. And
I completely.
Bro, that's the problem. We ain't got nothing. I just don't think they're taking it too seriously enough to spend some money. I don't care who it is. We should need something.
No, I completely agree with both of you. I think every Saints fan accepts the fact that there's always inflation in the January transfer window. That's absolutely fine. But you're right. Where these links are, they're concerning. The lack of links, is concerning. I mean, for me personally, it's now also the fact that we've got our 2 biggest games of the season, 2 biggest games for quite a while, within the next week and a half. We've got 2 games against Newcastle that ultimately decide whether we get to a major cup final or not. How many major cup finals has this club been in its history? And I can guarantee you, if they'd been able to get a striker in beforehand, that would give us a massive opportunity or a massive boost to book our place at Wembley. But
just look at when Gabby came in for the final.
Look at when Gabby came in, like 4 games. Yeah, I mean,
he had 4 games and then he came to the final.
Yeah. 6 goals he scored, didn't he? Like
but this is the thing. Sorry to interrupt, but this is the thing. Gabbiadini had a poor record. Okay, he was at Napoli, but Gabbiadini did have the best goal scoring record. Everyone was a little bit sheepish about Gabbiadini coming in. And then he got that goal against West Ham. Okay, the rest of the game, I think, what did we lose that day? 2-1, 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1.
And then we went on a decent run in the league, had the League Cup final, and he went on a great run. You never know, but the thing is, we have to see someone come in now. We can't rely on Shea. Sekou Mara, brilliant that he got his first goal. I'm so happy for him. But again, very young, cannot be relying on him. Okay, great. We've won 3 games in a row in the Premier League. We may make it 4 on the weekend. We may even get to a major cup final within the next week and a half. We are still bottom of the Premier League. We need a goal scorer. We
It's so
need
depressing,
goals.
man.
This is what I'm saying. We're bottom of the Premier League.
Oh my life.
We can't keep relying on Prowsey as well. He's broken his back for us for years.
That's what we did last season, and we stayed up by the skin of our teeth in the end. And really, it should have been a lot more comfortable. You cannot rely on a midfielder.
We can't have centre mid as our top scorer. We can't have centre mid as our top goal scorer.
Chaps,
I was thinking as well, like.
Can I just say?
Go for it. No, anything.
Just one thing to finish on. I'm so sorry, Liam, for cutting you off. I'll just give you 2 seconds. So someone just said in the chat, you go on about Moffi and Beto, no indication they have no interest in coming to Southampton. Yeah, sure, but Mateus Cunha's just left Atletico Madrid, who are a very, very good team, to come to a 19th place Wolves team. At that time, the Premier League has pull like you won't believe. Like genuinely, players will come from anywhere to play in this league. So when it's this tight it is to stay up, we can probably offer more wages than most European clubs at this point, just because of the amount of money that which we have, even though we're quite a small Premier League club. So players will want to come here. This league is a dream. Every player that come here says that they've always wanted to play in the Premier League. So I think we do have pull. It's just I don't think we're being sold in the right way.
It's what type of ball we have.
Yeah, we could generally talk all day.
Like with Wolves,
we can talk about the striker situation for all evening, really. But we have got a Villa fan who's been waiting very patiently in the wings, and we bring in Max Stokes from Villa on Tour. Max, how are you?
Good evening, lads. Well, I'm feeling much better after listening to you guys go on there about how terrible. Looking forward to a clean sheet on Saturday. No, but I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for coming. I was going to talk to you about the game first, but I think we can't avoid the elephant in the room, which is Danny Ings. You know, if reports are to be suggested, he is on his way to West Ham United for around £15 million. Of course, he joined Aston Villa from Southampton in the summer of 2021 for, I believe, £25-30 million. Max, we've been talking all week about how we'd love to see Ings come back. There are fans who say, no, he left for money. You know, he's a snake. But realistically, he's Southampton born and bred. He gets that first goal back. Everyone's in love with him again. Are you surprised to see him depart this window? And also, are you surprised to see him go to West Ham?
I'm a little bit surprised about how fast it happened, first of all. I think obviously that was the case when he came to Villa, wasn't it? It generally came out of nowhere. Like there was very minimal links linking him to Villa. It was generally out of nowhere. And I can see both sides of it from a Villa perspective, because we've got Ollie Watkins. He's the one who starts every day. He's our main number 9. And Danny Ings doesn't start, unfortunately, especially in this Unai Emery system. Danny Ings, we've seen it at Southampton where he played 2 up top with Che Adams. That's how he likes to operate. And at Villa, we're never going to do that. So I think before we signed Danny Ings, everyone was like, we need a proven Premier League striker. And this was when we already had Ollie Watkins. And I just think he's come in, he's scored quite a few, he's scored fairly decent goals because he hasn't had that much game time as well, to be fair. Like I said, he doesn't start every week, but when he comes on, normally pops up with a goal. Look at Wolves, literally just a couple of weeks ago at Villa Park, he popped up with an equaliser there. So I can see it, but if West Ham are panicking and they're offering 15, 16 million, whatever it was, Villa are going to take it from a financial position because he's 30, 31 in the summer. He's only got 18 months left on his contract, I believe. We've signed a new 19-year-old striker who's not going to come in to replace him, but we're filling up the striker positions, and we'll probably go for another one in the summer. So I can see it from a financial position, and West Ham are struggling. They're panicking. That's probably why they've signed him. But I can see it, and I'm not too disheartened to see it, to be fair, to see Danny Ings depart.
I'm having a look at his stats, 14 goals, 8 assists in 52 appearances. Do you think he's underachieved at Villa?
I don't think it's too bad, especially with the fact that he is behind Ollie Watkins, especially this season. Like when he first came in, he was starting games, to be fair, and that was under Dean Smith, and Dean Smith signed him, and he probably had a plan for him. So I can understand that, and he scored in his debut at Villa Park, a nice bicycle kick against Newcastle, and he has popped up with some very decent goals. I think he's probably average. I'd say Danny Ings has been average. If we look back on this in 5-6 years, people will talk about Danny Ings' career at Aston Villa. Pretty average, to be honest.
Well, if we think back to September, when it was an advert for quite possibly the worst Premier League game ever, back in September when it was 1-0, was it Jacob Ramsey who scored that day? It was Hasenhüttl against Gerrard. Now it's going to be Nathan Jones against Unai Emery. He's had a couple of months now to settle into the job. What have your first impressions been of Unai Emery, and what has he changed at Villa Park?
It's been brilliant so far. Really, really good. 6 Premier League games, 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. You cannot complain with that. Got, I think, the 4th best record since he's come in out of the whole Premier League in terms of how many points he's got. Can't complain with that at all. It feels like 2 different seasons now, with the Gerrard half of the season and then Unai Emery coming in. But it's a different world to what we were seeing under Steven Gerrard. It really, really is. And we picked up some wins against some very good clubs since he's come in as well. Man United, we've seen the run they've been on since we beat them at Villa Park. Brighton, we beat them away, beating Tottenham away as well. So we've picked up some really good wins as well. So I'm really encouraged. You can see that the guy has a plan. He has a plan for everything. Before every game, all you hear about is how much he loves football and how much he spends at the Villa training ground. And he has a plan for every game. And if that doesn't work, he can adapt, which is so refreshing to see, because under Gerrard this season, he'd have a plan going into the game. But if that failed, he'd just sit on his chair and just slump and we wouldn't see anything change. But with Emery, he's got that, and it's so good to see, and it's positive, and we can see that we're going somewhere, we're progressing, which is really, really encouraging. So far I'm loving it.
Liam, when we talk about Aston Villa as kind of outsiders, we talk about this big club that's been looking to try and break into at least the top half, try and push for Europe, kind of be best of the rest, if you like. And it seems since their promotion, they're yet to have, they've brought in some brilliant players, but it seems like they've yet to bring in this elite manager. Would you class Unai Emery as an elite, world-class manager, the one that they've been looking for this whole time?
Yeah, definitely. I'm massive fan of Unai Emery. But what I like about him is, like, since he went to Arsenal, since he left, I think he's actually learned a lot. I think he's definitely changed his system. I think he liked like the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3 under at Arsenal. But I can see with Villa and Villarreal, they played like a 4-2-2, and it's very dynamic. I think it's a bit different to what we played with under Ralph, the 4-2-2. And I really like Emery. I think he's tactically perfect. Like, he knows how to shut up shop when you're winning. And I think I was going to say, Matt, it's about, like, he plays a kind of 4-2-2, and you were saying about Ingsy playing in the front too. Like, he played that perfectly with us. So I was quite like shocked, because he does kind of play Leon Bailey as like a striker, or like like a number 10 off the wing. So I don't know what like your opinion is on that, and the way he kind of like congregates his team and stuff like that. It's a bit like all over the place. You don't know what he's kind of playing, a bit like Potter under Brighton. It's always mix and match. I don't know about your opinion on that, but give us some insight into it.
You say it's all over the place, and it is, but it is in a good way, 100%. Yeah, he's classed as a 4-2-2, but that changes however many times during a game. And when Ings and Watkins did start together, which was a fair few times, to be fair, like, we did try it. It's not like we've never ever tried it. It just never quite worked, and they never quite clicked. And I would have loved them to click. I really do, because I think between them they've got a bit of everything. Ollie Watkins has got an unbelievable work rate. Danny Ings has got the finishing and that instinct to score goals. So I think, the recipe was there for a good partnership, but it never quite materialised. And we did try it, just never quite happened. And yeah, touch on Leon Bailey there as well. He's been one of our best players this season. Up and down, but wingers are. But I say he's a winger. He does play sort of off Ollie Watkins in that sort of roaming role as well. So it is all over the place, but it's really good to see. And I think we've got the players to suit it with a couple of additions. I think, like you said, Dan, we can be that side that wants to be best of the rest.
Who are we supposed to be looking out for then? Who should Southampton fans be wary of? You talk about Leon Bailey there, Ollie Watkins with work rate. We're well aware of him. For me, Boubacar Kamara has looked like a real good signing. But
100%.
who do Celtics fans need to be wary of on the weekend?
Boubacar Kamara is a joke. Like, I cannot explain how good that kid is. Like, what is he, 22, 23? Signed him on a free in the summer from Marseille. We've been crying out for that sort of deep midfielder for years and years and years at Villa, and Nakamba came in and tried to do it, but he just wasn't that level. Kamara, how we've managed to sign him, genuinely, I've got no idea. Hopefully you'll see it the week. Well, not from your perspective, but hopefully you'll see it the weekend about how good he is. But he's just an absolute joke, and he's got that sort of driving run as well as being able to break-up play, and he's so calm on the ball. Like the amount of times in that Leeds game last Friday night, he gets the ball and he's just calm. Like he's got eyes in the back of his head. He knows what's going on. He's an unbelievable footballer. And when we do come to sell him, because the time will come, it'll be for a sensational fee. And I think because he's been at Villa this season, he has gone slightly under the radar in terms of the wider sort of football fan base. But he is a joke. Jacob Ramsey as well. Obviously got that goal when we played each other at Villa Park earlier on in the season. He's just coming back from injury, so he'll have something to prove. He's a very, very young talent, able to carry the ball so well. Leon Bailey doing well this season as well. Very one-footed, but he's a very good player on his day. They're probably my three. But midfield, we're very strong at the moment with that Douglas Luiz and Kamara partnership. Unbelievable.
He went under the radar, didn't he? So he was out for a few months. He got injured against us, didn't he? Kamara.
Kamara?
Jacob?
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Kamara. He got injured against us,
right.
I think.
Yeah,
out for like a couple of months.
Can I just touch on Douglas Luiz quickly, Max? So obviously he was linked loads in the summer with a move, right, to Arsenal. I always like Douglas Luiz. I think he's a good player, especially if you play him in a pivot next to Kamara. Obviously, he's going to excel. But what's Villa fans kind of thought on him? Because when I was reading when he was linked, obviously I know fans always have a biased perspective when a player's about to leave their club, and they were like, "Oh, he's inconsistent. He's not really the player we need in that number 6, number 8 position." What's your thoughts now, 5 months on from that?
I think he's a very good player, and I think there's a very good player in there. And people forget how young he is. He's been at Villa, nearly four years now, 3.5 years. We signed him when we just got promoted, and he was so raw. Like, what was he? I think he was 20, 21 when he first came in, if that. He was very, very raw, and a Brazilian coming in that didn't speak English, it was always going to be hard for him. But I think he's adapted at Villa. He's got used to the league, and having Kamara next to him is just going to see him flourish naturally. I think because he's had that pressure over the last few years to be that sole number 6 by himself, which I don't think is his strongest position. That's where he can make a few mistakes and he is inconsistent, but that's not his role. So now we've got a player who can do that and put him next to him, which puts less pressure on Luiz. I think that's exactly what he needed. People talk about, we need to see him further forward, play him in the 8 rather than the 6. And I can see that. Look at his goal against Tottenham, getting forward, really, really clever finish, stab finish. So he's good. He's really, really good. Big fan of him. I wasn't particularly a fan when he first signed years ago, but he's always going to flourish next to a player like Kamara. So yeah, one to watch for sure. And I think he's just signed a new contract as well fairly recently. Whether there's sort of like a clause in there potentially, I'm not sure. But yeah, to tie him down is really, really important.
Right,
Awesome.
Talking lineups. Now, if I'm correct, Digne came off against Leeds for the new lad, Moreno, is it?
Mm-hmm.
So are we expecting to see him start on the weekend, Max?
Yeah, there was a press conference today. Luca Dean won't be available. Alex Moreno will play at left back. And I thought when he played against Leeds, he came on when Dean got injured 10 minutes in. And it's always going to be a hard game, isn't it? Friday night against Leeds at home. It's always going to be a tough one to come into. But Moreno did well, to be fair. He's a sort of different left back to Luca Dean going forward and back. 12 million quid I think we signed him for from Real Betis. Looks like a decent acquisition so far. So yeah, you'll see him on Saturday.
And then we've got Martinez is back in goal. Mings today talking about the step to becoming an elite centre back, which I thought was quite interesting. Do you think he's on his way?
He gets a lot of stick, Tyrone Mings. He does, from Villa fans as well. But I love him, I do. I think he's absolutely fantastic. And people forget where he came from. We signed him in the Championship on loan, and then we signed him permanently when we got promoted. And people forget that. So he's not always been a sort of top half Premier League defender. He was playing left back at Bournemouth, and he's come into Villa and he's been absolutely fantastic. I think he's been one of our players of the season this year, without doubt. Huge fan of him. And I think he suits this Emery system as well, because I think as much as he can make mistakes, every centre-back makes mistakes, every defender makes mistakes, and whenever it's Tyrone Mings, people just hone in on it and have a go. But I think he suits this system. He's good on the ball most of the time. But yeah, huge fan of Tyrone Mings, really am.
Well, Mings used to work... sorry, Dan, fun fact about Mings. He used to work in my office as a mortgage advisor. We used to have the same job. So
Unreal.
There you go. Maybe I'll be playing centre-back for Villa in the future. Who knows?
No, and then the rest of the side that started against Leeds was Konza, Asher Young, Ramsey, Kamara, Luiz, Bailey, Watkins, Buendia. Any changes, do you think, besides with them?
I don't think so. Obviously, Moreno will come in for Luka Dean. Cash isn't back, so he won't play. But even if he was back, Ashley Young has been sensational. Like, someone needs to check his age, because 37. Someone needs to check it. Like, he is absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, I think it'll probably be the same. Ramsey getting back from injury, he'll be back in there. But I don't see why you'd change a winning team for me.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We're not. I think we were all discussing both before you came on and off camera, kind of what we think about the game on Saturday, and I think it's going to be a good one. I think, I don't know how you're feeling about it, but traditionally, Villa at St Mary's, it's never gone too well for you guys. Both of us are going into the game in good form. As an outsider, what have you made of Southampton so far recently, and how are you kind of thinking about the game? How are you approaching the game? And can you wrap it up as well with a score prediction?
I'm annoyed that Southampton are coming into form. Just about as we're about to go down there. So I'm not looking forward to that. You're right. We never do well at St Mary's ever. Been there a couple of times. We lost both. We haven't even scored. I think the last couple of times we've been there has been horrendous. When we went there last season, it was Dean Smith's last game, his 5th loss in a row, and he got sacked a couple of days after that Southampton game. But I'd like to see it change on Saturday. I think, obviously, with you guys being bottom of the league, on paper, you'd think we've got to win. But historically, it doesn't quite turn out that way. So I think it will be a tight one. It will be a tight one with the momentum that Southampton have got. But I think if we're serious about where we want to be, we've got to get a win from this game. But I think I can see a draw. I fancy goals as well. Well, maybe not. Listen to you guys actually about a goal scorer. Maybe not. I'll go 1-1. I'll go 1-1 with the potential of Villa nicking it late with a 2-1 win. But I'll go 1-1.
Max, you're an absolute star for coming on. We really appreciate it. Everyone, if you haven't yet subscribed to Max's channel, the link should be in the description below. Go check it out. Top Villa content. Max, all the best for after Saturday. And yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Nice one. Cheers, lads. Up the Villa.
See you later.
Cheers, mate.
All right, just to wrap up then, boys.
Yeah.
We've been talking about Villa's lineup. I want to talk about ours. We've seen a lot of flexibility from Nathan Jones. He wants his side to be flexible. We've seen back 5s, we've seen back 4s, we've seen 1 up front, we've seen 2 up front. We have seen quite a lot of different changes and tactics and formations and shapes and all these different aspects. Has it worked generally? Well, let's hope that now we're on to the start of something. But looking at that Everton side, or the side that started at Everton, Bazunu in goal, I think that's a given at the moment, regardless of what some people think of Gavin Bazunu. A back 4 of Kyle Walker-Peters at left back, Mohamed Salisu and Duj Saleta as centre backs, and Leanco right back. Diallo Lavia as a pivot, with a Dozy, Ward-Prowse, Elyounoussi as the attacking midfield 3, with Shea Adams up front on his own. Liam, any changes from that do you think are necessary to deal with Villa?
I don't think there'll be any changes, but I think we all know what one change we want, and that's Elyounoussi. I honestly give up when I speak about him. I see he puts in a shift, but I think Saturday summed up for me. I think we were a lot of the time we were going long ball up to on the right. He just wasn't even making an effort for the header or anything like that. And his quality is poor. But I think I'd like to stick what he did with the second half, because he changed Carl over to right back and put Sally at left back, and that looked a lot more better. Carl didn't have to always come in on his left, but I think one change I'll definitely make is hopefully maybe bringing Sam on the right and Orsic as the left, but I don't think he's going to do that. So I think we should expect the same team, but I think I'd definitely make one change, and that's Elyounoussi for Orsic, but I don't think it happened.
Yeah, no. That comment there that from Juan, bringing Orsic for Elyounoussi. Rob, Nathan Jones didn't bring Orsic on against Everton. He said in his post-match press conference, his decision to bring on Alcaraz was that they needed just a bit more nibble, and it just felt like the right time. Whereas with Orsic, obviously, they were kind of defending the lead and didn't need that attacking effect. They, if not, needed more bodies to defend. Yeah. Do you think he should be ready for a start? Do you think, given the fact that he came on for what was about 20 minutes against Manchester City, doesn't then come on against Everton, do you think we can be starting him against Villa realistically?
Villa's a very important game, right? And when you have games like this, you want your best players on the pitch. right? I think in terms of goal threat, Orsic has got to be up there. I mean, the bloke's already got 15 goals and assists in his previous league, right? So there's attacking impotence. I think from me, one thing I'll say about Moy is there's a reason why every single manager he's played under has picked him. It's because he works hard and he offers balance between attack and defense. Yeah, he's not great. I mean, let's be honest, he's really not great, and he will probably leave on a free this summer. But there's a reason why he gets picked, and especially when Jones is looking at a flexible system, that's why Moy plays, because he can drop into fullback or he can drop into centre mid. I think in relation to Orsic, I really like Liam's idea, putting Edozie on the right and then Orsic coming in. But I think if we're talking realistically, I think he'll go same team. I would, to be honest, I'd probably replace Edozie with Orsic, and I'll probably get slandered for this in a minute, but just hear me out. I think Edozie is fantastic one-on-one. He's great, but I would think Orsic in a very important game, it would be nice to have a little bit more threat when it comes to finishing, obviously alongside Che, because when Che plays, Prowsey's our best finisher. Would be nice to see Orsic come in there, I think. But I do love Edozie. Either Edozie or Orsic to start. I'm a happy man, to be honest. Overall, I would like to see Moy replaced with Orsic. I think that's a little bit more exciting, but I can completely understand why Jones would want Moy to still play. For me, do you want my full lineup now? I mean,
yeah, mate.
Give it.
We've got plenty of time. Go for it.
For me, I'd go same back four. There's a reason why we haven't yet lost with DCC and Sally playing in a back four, because they are bloody good together, shall I say. I think for me, it would be Bazunu, Lianco, obviously, because he offers versatility between building up in a back three and then dropping into a back four when we're defending. Diallo is an interesting one. I wish we had other options that were more competent than Ibrahim Diallo. Do I think he would give Maitland-Niles a game over him? Probably not. So I guess we can assume Diallo's starting there again. But again, a number 6 is really necessary in this window, I think, to play alongside Lavia. That will shore us up so much, especially if we play a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. Then obviously, as I said, I think Head says Moy to start right wing. Then obviously Prowsey in the 10 picks itself. Edozie or Orsic on the left. I'd probably go Edozie, go unchanged. Orsic might not be fully up to speed yet. That might not be why we've seen him. And then obviously Che Adams up front. I think overall that's probably our best bet. And there was a good performance at Everton. Let's not forget, it was a good performance overall. But I think the Orsic conversation needs to be had. Because he would, in my opinion, I think he just adds so much more aggression to our attack, which is needed, right? So, I mean, Dan, what do you think? I mean, you're normally quite level-headed with this type of thing, so.
I mean, it's interesting speaking to both of you there. 2 names that haven't been mentioned yet are Romain Perrault and Joe Aribo. With the latter, it's very clear to say that Nathan Jones hasn't been impressed with Joe Aribo. I don't think we've seen much of it, as much as we kind of expect.
Do you think that's work rate? Do you think that's why? Because
I think that's
a
little bit lazy. I think
he has career rate now.
I think it is work rate. Joe Aribo is very, very good on the ball. What is it? 2 goals. I couldn't tell you how many assists.
I don't think he's got one.
But I don't think he's got one yet. Both of which obviously coming under Ralph in games we didn't win.
Good finisher, though. Very good finisher.
He is a good finisher. And the thing is, now we have to work out a way to incorporate him, because realistically, I think everyone likes to see him kind of as a false 9 or as kind of a cam behind the striker. He's not going to get that opportunity. He's either going to play up front or on the flank. And right now, I don't really see him as either of those, so he doesn't get into the team. For me, I've always been an advocate of Perrault, but I don't think you can drop Lianco over the last couple of games. Obviously, getting the assist for Mara, good shift against Everton as well. I do think he's massively overrated in the sense of because of his passion, because of his personality. And don't get me wrong, we need that. But I'm never convinced with him. I'm never too confident. I mean, I think the goal against Forest, or the goal scored by Forest, I should say, I think that just emphasizes my point in the sense of I'm never reliable. I can never rely on him. Whereas with Perrault, I feel a little bit more confident, and also he's one of our better attacking fullbacks. But
Perrault's he's a great player, But
it's a hard one.
I think, Dan, as you said earlier, Jones likes flexibility, which is why Lianco plays simple. I mean, it's very obvious the shape we play when we build up with the ball. It's 3-back, right? Easy.
Defender with
Yeah.
5 as well. So that's why it's a bit difficult.
and that's the thing. So
Lianco
I
offers
feel
that. That's the problem. And I love Roman. As a Roman lover, right? I love him to play every game, but unfortunately, Jones prefers flexibility, and Lianco shows passion. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you could play if you shout a lot, right? So
no, but
I think Lianco's just the typical perfect Jones player. I think he's just obviously, like you say, like
in the
the
sense that
Forest
he's championship
game
quality.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, maybe, yeah. But like, I think obviously the Forest game was difficult. Like, I think it wasn't obviously he made a mistake for the goal, but I think everyone was crap. So I think the problem is with the fair play to him to turn it around, because the last 3 games he's been absolutely fantastic, and he's shown that he can be a compatible defender. The problem for me is, I think he can be a walking red card. He can lose his head easily. I think that was the same with Lavia as well. Like, I was just thinking every time he was going to get sent off against Everton and against City as well. So it's like, I think it's just difficult. I think the flexibility is working. That's why he likes Moy and probably Gineppo as well, because they can both play as a right wing back. But the problem is their quality just isn't what we need or what we want, like you say.
No, but and then the other point is I am an advocate of the idea of Orsic starting. I think we brought him in to start games. We've brought him in to score goals and win us football matches. This is an important game.
Speaks for itself, mate. Game. His record speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And to be honest, 30 years old, we need a bit of that. We do.
He's
need
not
a
that
bit.
bad. We were all wanting Danny Ings to sign. He's 30 years old. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Orsic, it doesn't matter how old he is.
I think he's exactly what we're crying out for. Adozie, give him another
Orsic
start.
could be perfect as well, because the way that Che drops deep, and he's always like, I think it was a player passage when Prowse hit the post on Saturday. Che holding the ball up, flicking it behind to Adozie. Adozie plays it into Prowse, and we've got a chance. I think that's going to be perfect with Orsic. If Adam's flicking it behind for Orsic, we've got a proper finisher there who's going to get us goals. So that's what I'm kind of hoping that. But then he's got to play on the left if he's going to do that. It's going to be difficult for him to play on the right and do that. So
yeah,
I mean, it all depends what James wants to do.
Well, what I would say is,
go on.
For my personal preference, I would rather have Diallo drop out and Elyounoussi come in next to Lavia and have a pivot of Lavia and Elyounoussi. And that's just me.
Bold. He's going bold.
That's just me.
Yeah.
I'd
probably say maybe Prowse and Lavia, and
it's the work rate.
That is where Stuart Armstrong would be perfect, by the way.
Ball carrier.
Where is he?
Injured.
I don't know.
Injured.
Yeah,
if not on his way back to Celtic. But no,
they haven't said anything about it. He said he's given them a rest, and it's been a long rest.
He's not.
It has well been a long rest.
No,
there's something going on, and I would not be surprised to see some departures this window. But boys, that has been a pretty good return to things, I think, as we kind of surpass the 40-minute mark. Just to wrap up, final thoughts on the game and your score predictions. Liam, you go first, mate.
Difficult game. I want to say I'm confident, but then when it gets to like 5 minutes before the game, I'm going to be crapping myself. So it's like, I'm going to go positive. 2-1 Saints. Orsic winner. I said it on Saturday, 2-1 Saints, and Orsic winner. Obviously, he didn't come on, but we won 2-1. So I'm going to go 2-1.
Rob?
I think I said it on a podcast last night. This game is a litmus test for Saints. I think we've either come up against teams who are in free fall like Everton, or really, really good teams like Man City. So for us to play against just a solid team in good form, I think it's going to be a really interesting watch, see where we are and how we set up and how we approach the game. That said, I'm not all that confident because Villa, in my opinion, man by man, have better players. But I think, I think Nathan Jones up against Europa League winning Unai Emery, who's managed top 6 clubs and big teams around Europe, is not a fun comparison to make. All that said, though, I might join. I said last night a 2-0. You see, but that was just me being overconfident. I'll go for a 1-1. I'll be realistic. I'll be realistic. That's a good point. If we can get a Wolves and get a win, that is a very good point against Villa. So
no, I completely agree. I think we need to be going into that Newcastle game without a defeat. I think we need to keep this unbeaten run going, build up good habit. And
would you rather win Saturday or rather win Tuesday?
Tuesday. I think
Really?
everyone
Mate, I've
will
already
say
paid
that.
200 quid for my flight and hotel. I want to.
No, you know, Tuesday. Let's not bat around the bush. Tuesday is more important. But you know, Premier League safety
Context,
is
yeah, but I think Saturday's just as important.
yes, but we're not cut adrift yet. But that's a discussion for another time.
it's
I'm going to
another
go
day.
1-1. I'm going to go 1-1. I don't think we're going to win it, but to be honest, I think we're going to put in a good performance. Well, we didn't even get to ask Max about this third kit curse, but they are playing in their third kit, which they haven't won in for. I couldn't even tell you.
First
Can
of
we not say
January
anything about that,
2020,
please?
mate.
1st of January 2020. There we go.
And they've lost 11 and drawn 3 since then in their third kit. So
Brilliant.
wow.
There you go. Well, thank you
Lump it on
everyone who
Villa.
has joined in live. If you are watching live or you watching on repeat, make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet already. Give it a thumbs up. Follow us on all of our socials and follow the boys as well. And we will see you after the Villa game, hopefully to review a big 3 points. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
This is us.